welcome back to another episode of OakieVision. My name is Ryan Barnett, Sports Information Director here at Menlo College, and my guest this week is none other than the defending Golden State Athletic Conference Women's Volleyball Coach of the Year, Denise Sheldon. Thanks so much for stopping by, Denise.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I think we're going to jump right on in. A lot we want to cover today to keep you, the Oaks fans, keep your fingers on the pulse of Menlo College women's volleyball. Now, I'm going to set the scene just a little bit on last season for those fans out there who did not get a chance to follow the Oaks game by game. And believe me, you missed quite a bit. Now, you guys started off a solid 6-1 in Golden State Athletic Conference play in the month of September. Moving on to October, schedule got a little bit tougher. You went down to Masters in Westmont, always a tough task. Came back home, beat Vanguard for the second time in as many seasons. But then you had a little bit of a hiccup taking on UC Santa Cruz and Westmont Oktoberfest weekend. And there were a couple of winnable games that you guys lost in 5 sets. Now, from my point of view, something changed with your team at that point. You guys would go on to win your next 7 straight en route to your first Golden State Athletic Conference regular season title in program history. Could you pinpoint for me maybe a turning point that you saw? Was something said in the locker room or just a moment of joining together of the team? Because you guys really began to gel, it seemed, after that loss, come together, a whole new team, and we really saw the fruit of that labor on the court for the last 7 games of the year.
I think that us actually losing those couple of games and struggling when, our team, I think, didn't think that we were going to. I think that was the wake-up call. I think that was the change. Our philosophy is to take it, point by point, set by set, match by match, and we hadn't been doing that in the way that we should have been. And one of the nice things about our crew last year was their ability to look at what had happened in the past. So after a match, it was kind of astounding, actually. We'd sit in the locker room and they'd be able to break it down and go, well, this is what we did. And I wouldn't even have to tell them. And so I think that, just us slipping there a little bit and looking past matches and thinking, okay, well, we've got these other big games later. There are no big games. And so when we slipped up there, I think it was actually a great lesson. And I don't think that we would have had that kind of success at the end of the season had we not gone through those troubles in the middle of the season that reminded everyone, it's time to, really take this point by point and not take any second for granted.
Well, it definitely seems like, your team was able to, first of all, utilize that high volleyball IQ to realize the mistakes, as well as to, like you said, timing is everything. You were able to hit that lull in the middle of the season so that you had a whole second half of the year to build back up and work your way to that championship level. So we were really excited to watch that run, of course, towards the end of the season. Now, what was even more incredible about your team last year was your ability to slug your way to the top with such a small team numbers wise. I remember at points last year, because of injury, you could only dress, I believe, 7 or 8 girls, and yet you were able to, succeed night in, night out. Now I can understand from an outsider's perspective how that could be tough with a small team, a little bit of lack of depth, but how it could also play to your advantage. Getting every player involved every night could be a huge morale booster. Talk a little bit about how you were able to manage such a small team. And, was this your first experience with a small team like this, or had you had experience like this before?
I think anyone who coaches volleyball long enough, you end up having teams of all sizes and just having to adjust. This team, it was just very cool. There were times we only had 7 or 8 who were available to play. And, there are obviously challenges. I mean, we had some injuries and just there were rough pieces that led us to having that many people at different times. But at the same time, our crew is really tight. During our season, we actually, in my family, we found out that my mom had cancer. So we discovered she had cancer. She had surgery and went through everything all during our season in the fall, which, obviously it's just a lot. It's a tough thing to go through. Mm-hmm. But our team was like right alongside, like the fact that our team was so engaged no matter what happened. And I think some of that has to do with the fact that, you know, the crew is smaller and they were just able to connect with each other. And so, you know, even through things I was going through, like we were able to just be there for each other. So I knew, I only had to miss like a couple of practices, but like I knew if I had to do that, we were fine. And they were, you know, just picking up where we left off when, if I wasn't there. So it was just a really special crew last season.
Yeah, we, you know, here at Menlo College with our small size all together, it's all about the family environment. And we definitely saw that embodied on your team. And, you know, just another great way to take what some coaches may consider a disadvantage, having a small team, and turn it into an advantage and bond that team together. And once again, like I said, we saw it all season long on the court. Now, of course, talking about last year, we have to bring up your two All-Americans. They both graduated, Pamela Dungo and Moya Kekoha, both special players. Of course, Pam becoming the all-time leader in Menlo College history in assists about halfway through the season. So that record may go a while untouched. And Moya Kekoha, a great Swiss Army knife, top 3 in program history in kills and in digs. Talk about how great it is to have, you know, go-to playmakers like that night in, night out that you can turn to when you need a big play. We know we saw, like I said, game in, game out, big plays, not just from Mo, you know, big kills, big digs, but Pam as well, a great defensive setter and coming up with these strategic, you know, swipe balls and whatnot as well, coming up with big kills when the Oaks needed them. So how huge is it to have two players like that on the court?
I mean, it's huge. And I think, you know, for the most part, whenever I talk to the coaches of teams we play, that's what they would say too, like, gosh darn both of those kids. Yeah, they were, I think that both of them being pretty consistently solid night in and night out, in practice and in matches, allowed our team a little bit of flexibility. So it meant that, you know, I mean, we really did have, you know, a whole team, like whoever was on the court was contributing. It's not like, even though Mo got a lot of balls, we needed offense from other people as well. So, but it did allow people to, like, on and off, have a rough night. So if somebody had a rough night, it's okay, because we could kind of pick up the slack, and we knew that there was going to be just some consistency with what was going to come from Mo and Pam. And what was actually kind of nice too is, like, because of that, when Mo would have a little bit of a rough night, like the rest of the team would pick it up around her. And I think, like, that kind of goes back to your last question. I think that was one of the huge things of, like, that core of people that we had on our team. They were able to rely on each other. But I think that I would be remiss if I didn't talk about their leadership. It's cool. I only had Pam at Menlo for 2 years, coming from junior college, which I think is always cool, because she sort of had this other life before she came to Menlo. But I had the pleasure of working with Mo for 3 years, and just seeing both of them, like, mature into leadership positions, not what someone else wanted of them, but like what they wanted to be, like how they wanted to be as leaders. It was a little bit quieter. It was a little bit more casual, and it worked for our team. That's just kind of, you know, if anyone who has a relationship with Mo knows that, like, we're not doing anything that's not, like, super chill and casual and hang loose, because that's Mo. But, you know, it really worked for our team, for her to have that leadership style, and she and Pam are very close. And so they were just able to lead the team, I think, from the inside out, from a really, like, kind place.
Yeah, and I think that circles right back to your point about the high volleyball IQ of this whole team, and, you know, starting at the top with your leaders, knowing how they wanted to lead the team as well, both on and off the court. And that's a huge plus to have when you have not just strong athletes, but smart players on and off the court as well. I think that segues us nicely into talking about what to expect for the upcoming season. Of course, the season looking to start in the January realm with the current pandemic, at least from what we've heard so far. You do have quite a few returning upperclassmen who will be back on the court. Of course, your 2 4-year returners, Jaden Scott and Luciana Herrera, as well as a few upperclassmen who transferred in last year, who were really stellar. Of course, Lauren Schaefer, Kristen Whitney, Abby Briggs, Cassie Carino, and then, of course, Janae Wooten as well, who's been with you for 3 seasons, or will be coming in for her 3rd season. Who do we expect to step up next year? Of course, we saw them all step up last year as well, but sort of to be your leaders both on and off the court.
I think that, I'm sure we're going to talk next about like some of our new kids coming in, and we have a bunch of them, but I think that we'll expect that the returners are going to be leaders for sure. I mean, it's about a 50-50 split of returners and new players. So I think on and off the court, that's going to be important. For sure, Lucy and Jaden, having been here for 4 years, and it's actually like Jaden was part of the first class that I recruited. So those guys will definitely be big leaders this coming fall on and off the court. And then you mentioned Janae, and Janae next year will be, like in the 21-22 season, will be the only 4-year player. So, she is very interested in, being a part of the leadership and sort of preparing for that role next year, and is super engaged this year to, just be our best and to be physically ready to go, because obviously the pandemic has caused a lot of issues with our ability to play volleyball and to work out and that sort of thing. So, but I think all the returners, and then in addition, this summer for the last, I guess it's a lot of weeks now, for the last like 12 weeks, so like 3 months, I've been working really closely with Jaden and with Lauren Schaefer. And we've been doing leadership activities this summer. So we're definitely looking to the 2 of them to be, vocal leaders for sure, coming into next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw every one of these players with leadership potential on the court a season ago. Now, I have heard also some grumblings about just on your social media page about some position changes as well. Maybe seeing a little bit of Jaden Scott at outside hitter instead of at the middle. Maybe some of Cassie Carino at setter. I know last year we saw Lauren dress at libero at times due to injury. We saw some of Janae at outside hitter in certain games. Can we expect to see some of these changes again implemented this season?
Yeah, I guess you never know with the Oaks, huh?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I've always been really open to people moving positions into places that they're happier or more effective. And each of those people has a good reason to make a position switch. Lauren will likely not be going back to libero, but I think Jaden, we'll probably see Jaden on the outside this year, and she's really excited about that. And we're bringing in a few really nice middles, so to join Abby. And Cassie, she came in as a setter, and because Pam was, so dominant last year, she, helped us out and was more of a defensive specialist. So she's excited to get back into that position. But I think we've had that happen a lot in our program, and it really is just, when athletes are interested in that and it works for us, like I'm totally into that.
All right. Well, excited to see those shuffles of the deck next season once we get underway. And of course, now also really excited to hear a lot about your new recruiting class. I believe it's one of the largest recruiting classes ever in Menlo College women's volleyball history. I believe 8 new girls coming in by my count, at least from what we've covered so far at menloathletics.com. A bunch of different positions coming in, new depth added at just about every position. Who can we look forward to seeing, explode in their first year in Navy and Silver?
Possibly all of them.
All right, excited to hear that.
Yeah, so there are 8, and 3 of them are transfers. And like I mentioned, I just think transfers are super cool, having come from, somewhere else and already played some college volleyball. To me, the neat thing about junior colleges is that they're geographic mostly, right? So it's not like the best players coming together. It's kind of where you live. So then we're able to, at the 4-year level, take the cream of the crop and then put them together, which I think is a great opportunity for us and for them. So we have 2 setters who are coming in from junior college. I'm stoked to get them on the court and contributing right away. We also have Sydney, who's a defensive specialist. So she'll be coming in to fight for some time there as well. We have several kids coming in from Hawaii, and that's a standard practice, I think. We know we
Menlo tradition.
Yeah, we have a lot of Hawaiians, and we love Hawaiians. They add so much to our family. So we have 2 middles, one from Hawaii and one is actually Cassandra Orozco, who's the sister of Anthony, who is our national champion wrestler. So obviously we're stoked to see everything that she's going to bring to the court. And then from Hawaii, we have Shauna, who's a middle. And, we expect big things from her right away. And 2 Libros in Kyla and Sky. And they both come from, really strong club programs and are going to be vying for time right away, I think. Amanda comes from Redwood City, so right down the street. So, she's had the luxury of being to a ton of our games and coming to our camps and things like that. So she's an outside hitter. We're excited for her to get started with us officially. So it's a really great group of 8 women who are coming in. Sydney's actually already here. She transferred at semester. So she had probably the weirdest first semester at any school ever. Yeah. But we did get 4 weeks of training with her. So, and so that group led probably by the older transfers. And, those are both setters, as I said, that's Gabby and Becca, who are, we're looking to, come in and make an impact for sure right away. So with that crew coming in with our returners, it's a nice group of new people, returners, and a larger squad. So we should have less of those issues you were talking about last year with such a small squad.
Well, we've got the pleasure as Oaks fans to get to know some of your new recruits through your social media, Instagram takeovers, and the player spotlights that you've been featuring. How else have you been keeping your players, both returners and new incoming students, sort of locked in during this break?
We have kept quite busy. We have not gone more than 6 days without talking to each other. So we have a Zoom call once a week, and it's been nice to just catch up and talk to each other, which I've actually heard some other coaches from other places say how nice it is that we're doing that, actually, because that's not something that we've always done. And it's really, I think, something that a lot of us are going to be doing in the future, even when there isn't a health emergency. But we've been doing all kinds of things, and most of them, of course, they're all working out, and we have such an awesome sports performance team that has taken them through the ropes this summer and in order to stay in shape as we can be. But we've had a lot of different activities that we've done with each other. So every week, even in non-pandemic times, we have what we call support partners. So we partner up the women with someone else on the team. And so every week you get someone new. And so you eventually work with everyone. And, the idea behind that is that you've got somebody to talk to, somebody to, they meet, hopefully at the beginning of that week, and kind of go over what's happening in their lives, what their challenges are. When we're in the gym, we're talking about practice, and we're talking about, what they're working on in the gym, but also what maybe, you have a bunch of tests coming up, or you just broke up with your boyfriend or something like that. So it's just a nice support system. So we've been continuing that throughout the summer. And they do that with FaceTime calls. So they've got at least one FaceTime scheduled every week. We've also talked about how we've got 50-50 new people and returners. And so they have, our captains have actually developed a buddy system. And so they meet with their buddies once a week as well. And they have a bunch of crazy activities that they do. It'll be something like, okay, you're gonna show your buddy your closet, and then they pick out an outfit for you and you have to put it on, and they'll, do each other's makeup over Zoom. And I mean, just all kinds of stuff that hopefully makes this time a little bit more fun.
Yeah.
And
I
also
mean,
like
yep.
getting to know you.
I think, it's amazing that you have this implemented already, because of course the big talk with this pandemic is not just, physical health and being able to work out, but also a mental and emotional health. And it seems like this support system is a great way for both your new and returning athletes to stay in a positive sort of mindset and keep in touch with their teammates. So it sounds like an awesome program that you and your captains have developed.
Yeah, they've done a lot of work, and we've just tried to find ways to make it fun. So like right now, they're doing happy hours. So, the two groups of buddies get together over FaceTime and just hang out and talk and, maybe play games or whatever. But so we've stayed connected really well over this time. And, that's the plan for the next few months as well.
Understood. Now, we heard how your team's keeping busy, and I'm sure you've kept quite busy with them. But what are some other ways for our viewers out there at home that you've kept busy during the pandemic, just to give them some ideas of what they can do to keep their mind active, fade away the boredom a little bit?
Oh, what have I done? So I cook a lot. So I have been cooking a lot, and I know that's like something that everybody was like buying all the flour and making bread, and I went through that phase too. But I always have liked to cook. So the fact that like I just have more time to do that is very cool. I like to hike a lot, and a hike for me is a walk on something that's not concrete. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like, I'm not necessarily mountain climbing, but I like to kind of get out in nature and I don't know, just get out and breathe the fresh air a little bit.
Understood.
I also taught myself Instagram, which is sort of how you've seen some of that social media stuff, because I never did Instagram, and I still really don't, but I figured it out enough to support our Menlo Instagram a little bit. So that's been something, and then also of course recruiting and talking to a lot of potential and hopeful Oaks, and looking to bring some more amazing people onto our squad for 2021.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing those new players on campus. Just because you brought it up, any good trails or hiking trails that you could suggest?
Well, I live in Belmont, so I live, across the street sort of minimizes it, but I live basically across the street from Waterdog Lake and that park there. So I go there a lot because it's close enough for me to just scoot on over and get into wilderness. But there are surprisingly a lot of places to go, because as built up as the Bay Area is, there are also so many places that are like left untouched. So I think anywhere you can get out where there's some trees and some open space to run around is awesome, and lots of animals. We have that is another thing I've done in the quarantine. We have we've always had a bird feeder in front of our house, but now like that's become a much larger thing. So we have birds, we have squirrels, we have sometimes cats come around. That's not a good day. And we have like a family of deer who live like right down the street from us. So like now we have some like, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but we have some like food for the deer. We put out apples for them. So like the deer come. So we get to see animals all the time, which I think is super cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, sounds like you're definitely, getting in touch with your natural roots, so to speak. Even a little bit more than you already did, with some of the free time. So always nice to see you taking sort of the negative of the downtime and turning it into a positive. Thank you so much for stopping by, Denise. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Fans, definitely stay tuned for next week's episode of OakieVision, where we keep your finger on the pulse of everything having to do with Menlo College Athletics. Thanks again for your time, Denise.
Thanks, RB.